Hey guys, it's Leah. Welcome back, or welcome if you are new, and welcome to my biggest book unhaul that I have ever done. I decided to film in my living room today, so if the sound is slightly different to normal or like louder behind you, let's just ignore it. I have a lot of books to go through today. We have over 100 books to unhaul. I'm not gonna lie, I was ruthless. There were so many books on my TBR that I have had for like a year plus and I've still not read, or ones that I know that I'm really not interested in anymore, or I'm not gonna get to. So when I said I was being ruthless, I mean I was ruthless. The most I've ever been in my entire life when it comes to my bookshelves. I also think because one of my biggest goals of 2025 is to lower my physical TBR, that in the back of my head just made me want to get rid of so many books. I'm being incredibly conscious with what books I now have on my physical TBR, or the books that I now keep. If I'm never going to reread a book, there are some that I've read here that I have no intention to reread, they're gone. But yeah, I'm being incredibly ruthless. This video is likely going to be quite a long one, so feel free to go grab yourself your favourite drink or a snack. I grabbed the biggest mug that I own, and I have a vanilla chai tea, and we're going to get straight into all of these books that I'm getting rid of. Okay, we're going to go in any random order. I'm just going to grab whatever book I see. The top one here is also the same as technically these two here, so we'll start with these. This is the entire Cruel Prince trilogy. I got this because I was going to film an entire reading vlog, spoilers and non-spoilers, kind of exactly in the same style as I did my Once Upon a Broken Heart vlog. I love that vlog so much, and I want to do series where I just binge read an entire fantasy series or romance series, and I do one long video talking about them with spoilers and non-spoilers, and this was going to be the next one. And I did finish the Cruel Prince, and then I DNF'd the Wicked King. I'm not joking when I tell you the Wicked King, I was reading that for 2 months before I decided to DNF it, and thus I decided to scrap the entire video, and I now no longer have any interest in finishing the series. So these are the first three that I'm going to get rid of. Then have The God of the Woods. This is the proof copy. I read this at the end of 2024, and this was a 5-star prediction for me, and I'm not gonna lie, I just did not like it at all. I ended up rating it 2 stars, so I don't feel the need to have the proof copy on my shelf, and I'm never gonna reread it, so we're getting rid of her. Then we have a few books that I haven't read. I'm not gonna lie, I've been sent so many books in the past, which I'm so incredibly grateful for. It is honestly one of the biggest joys and one of the best parts about reviewing books online. Like, anytime a publisher wanted to send me a book, I would feel so grateful that I would say yes. Now though, I'm a lot more picky with what books get sent to me and what books I then read, and I'm not gonna lie, because of that I have so many books to get rid of that I never even got round to get into. I do feel quite bad about that. Every single time somebody sends me a book, I obviously have every single intention to read it, but now, just because I'm being so ruthless and I need to cut down my TBR, I'm being honest with myself. With that being said, first and foremost, we have two. We have The Silence in Between by Josie Ferguson. With a lot of these books that I was sent, I'm obviously not gonna know too much about them, but yeah, this was the first one. Then we have Will I Ever Have Sex Again by Sophie Hagen. I've had really good things about this. This is a non-fiction book. I just stick with this one because I don't read non-fiction often. I know that this is just gonna sit on my shelf for at least like 2 years until I ever decide to get to it, so I feel like someone would much prefer it than me. We have Hagstone by Sinead Gleeson. This is one that I was actually so incredibly excited about. I am still slightly hesitant about getting rid of this, but I've had it on my TBR for over a year and I still haven't read it, so for that I was just like, okay, I need to be honest with myself. It has been reviewed with wild, elemental and brimming with ideas and intelligence. Hagstone feels both ancient and very modern. I adored it. Wonderfully surprising and totally original novel from a compelling voice. It just sounds really good, so maybe this is the problem. Am I going to decide to keep this? I feel like this might happen a lot in this video, but I've been very intrigued about this one. If anyone has read this and thinks it's good, please let me know. I'm probably not going to get rid of these books for a few days after this video goes up, so there's a chance to save it. Then we have one that I bought myself years ago and I still never read, and another one that, to be honest, maybe I'll keep this one too. I knew that this was going to happen. It's because I just read feminist dystopian fiction, and I'm always looking for more dystopians. This one is The Hierarchies by Ross Anderson. I've had this on my TBR for 2 years minimum, and I've never even thought about picking it up, but it is one that I have always been intrigued about, and I honestly still am, because I never find dystopian reads and I'm always looking for more, especially in that feminist sort of scape. This is definitely another one that if you have read it and you think that I would like it, please let me know, because there's a chance to save it. Then we have another proof, and that is The Restaurant of Lost Recipes by Hisashi Kashiwai. I have never read this. I've never had anyone talk about it actually. Initially when I first got sent this, I was like, oh my god, okay, this sounds so good, so cozy, so comforting, and I'm absolutely sure it is, but I never really like cozy translated fiction like Days at the Murasaki Bookshop. Things like that just don't really gel well with me because I'm always wanting more from them. I don't think I'm that target audience, and this one is definitely one like that. It looks so sweet and it does look so comforting, and I'm sure I would probably enjoy it in places. I just very rarely like cozy translated fiction, so this one's going. Next we have a duology that I'm quite sad about. This is one that I've had on my shelves for probably 3-4 years now. Again, if this duology is good, let me know, because I love this author so much, and it is V. Schwab, specifically the This Savage Song duology. I have both of the books in paperback, and then I have this special edition of The Savage Song, and like I said, I just never got around to them. I adore V. Schwab's writing, and actually at the time of me filming this, literally 5 minutes before I set up the camera, I got accepted for a proof on NetGalley of her newest book, Bury Our Bones. I'm so excited. Her adult novels always end up being my favourites, but I know that this is YA. I feel like this was one of those series that everyone was talking about when I first started booktube, but I haven't heard anyone mention it for years, which means my enjoyment is slightly wavered. I don't know, again another one because it is V. Schwab that I could be swayed on keeping, let me know, but yeah, for now I am getting rid of these. Then we have a finished copy that was sent to me, and that is The Tearsmith by Erin Doom. I had never heard anyone talk about this, I just knew that it was being adapted, and then I watched the trailer on Netflix. It's not for me, babe. Two that I have read and I actually really enjoyed, but I don't think I'm gonna ever reread them, and if I do then I'll just pick them up again. They are both romances by Rachel Lynn Solomon. I really enjoy Rachel Lynn Solomon's romances. I really want to read another one actually, it's been a while. But we have The X Talk and Weather Girl. I actually really adored these and they were just so fun. They are like strong 4-star romances for me, but right now, like I said, I don't really have any plan to reread them, so although I do really want to read another book by Rachel Lynn Solomon. We then have Teddy by Emily Dunley, another one that was sent to me. I've just had this on my shelf for a long time and I never picked it up. Oh, okay, we have 2 Christmas books that again I never read, and I feel like I'm always so particular with the Christmas books that I want to read. There are so many that I'm always so interested in reading every single year, but then I never ever get to them, and then I'm like, okay, damn, I need to wait a whole nother year, and then I never get to them the next year, and that is exactly what happened with these 2. We have One December Day by Rachel Marks, and then The Christmas Orphans Club by Becca Freeman. Again, never heard anyone talk about these, but these seem more like contemporary Christmas other than like fantasy Christmas, I wish, other than outright romance Christmas novels, which are the sort of vibe that I like if I'm ever going to pick up a Christmas novel. So yeah, these are going because I just never read them, and they've been on my shelf for like 2 Christmases, and I don't see myself reading them for Christmas this year. Okay, damn. Then we have 6 romance books that again were all sent to me, and I just have not gotten around to them, and I don't plan to anymore, and I feel like someone would love these a lot more than me. First and foremost, we have The Boyfriend Candidate by Ashley Winstead. I've read a couple of Ashley, or maybe just one of her thriller horror books, and I quite enjoyed it. I'm very intrigued to read her thriller horror books, but her romances probably not. I don't know what any of these are about. But then we also have Retrograde by Emily Carter, Wake Up Nat and Darcy by Kate Cochrane, Cross the Line by Simone Sultani. I've heard the most about this one, but I'm not a huge F1 girl, and like I said, I feel like a lot of people would enjoy this a lot more than me, and it's just sitting on my shelf collecting dust at this point. Whiskey Business by Elliot Fletcher, and then Keep Me in Your Heart by Monica Murphy. The main reason that I'm getting rid of this is I've never read any Monica Murphy, and then I went on Goodreads to kind of log it onto my own physical TBR, and I'm pretty sure it said that it was like the 2nd or 3rd in a series, and I don't have the 1st one, so I don't know when I would get to it. And for that, like, there are just so many other books that I want to read before, like so many more romance books that I would want to read before this. So yeah, I'm getting rid of those 6 romances. A romance book that I'm getting rid of because I DNF'd it is Haunted Ever After by Jen DeLuca. I initially was so excited to pick this up because I was like, okay, it's a romance set in a haunted house, like what is there not to love as somebody who loves haunted house narrative? And I'm not gonna lie, this was the most insta-lovey and also slightly boring romance I've ever read that I did just DNF it, and I'm never ever gonna return to it, so maybe someone will like it more than me. And the last one on that stack is The Honey Witch by Sydney J. Shields. I haven't heard too many people talk about this. This is actually a proof copy and it came out in May 2024, and like I said, I still haven't gotten around to it, and I'm trying to be really picky with what books are on my TBR. On to the next stack, we have Honeybees and Distant Thunder by Riku Onda. I love this cover so much, like I want to read it just for the cover. On the blurb it says, the buzzing I can hear is the sound of life being gathered together, the very sound of life itself. I have to go back to the place where I can hear that sound gives me strength. I feel like there is a common theme of, if I've had a book on my TBR for years and I'm not actively hearing anyone talk about it, or I don't actively have any interest in it, then it just sits on my shelf forever. And this was one of them. Like, I'm not going to sit here and say that maybe I wouldn't absolutely adore this, maybe I would, but I don't know anything about it, and I don't know, like I said, there's so many other books that I want to get to before any of these. Then we have A Perfect Day to Be Alone by Nene Ayoma. I read this last year, babe. I cannot tell you anything that happened in it. Plot Twist by Erin LaRosa is another romance book that I'm just going to get rid of because there are so many other romance books that I want to read before this one. It actually says at the front, Ashley Winstead, author of The Boyfriend Candidate, which is one of the ones that I've just showed you, is on the front, so maybe that was a foreboding sign. Okay, then we have 8 poetry collections that I am getting rid of, solely because I have so much poetry on my shelf. Essentially all of these are ones that I've either read and I don't see myself rereading, / I just don't want on my shelf anymore, or I have duplicate copies of. One that I have already read is Divisible by Itself on One by K Tempest. I found this really interesting. I had always heard really good things about K Tempest poetry, and this was the only one that I've still ever read. I thought it was good. I didn't think it was the most astounding thing in the world, and I'm probably not going to revisit it, but I did like it. Then we have one that is a duplicate. I do have a finished hardcover copy of this, so I haven't read it yet, and it is Poems by Len Penny. When I was a bookseller, I heard the best things about this. So many people would recommend it in the bookshop, so I'm very intrigued. I definitely still want to read it, but I've just got, this is a duplicate. Then we have Grub by Martin uni. The main reason that I wanted to keep hold of this is that I got this in 2023 when I went to Hay Festival. That specific time in my life, but also going to Hay Festival for the first time and being invited by TikTok to Hay Festival was such a surreal experience and was still one of the best things that I've ever experienced. I also spoke on a panel there. It was so fun, and this I'm pretty sure was the only book that I bought in their Oxfam pop-up there, and I never really wanted to get rid of it because of that. But with that being said, I did read all of these poems and they were just not for me. I really didn't like them all that much, but I mean the cover is so interesting and I have like sentimental value to this, but I'm realizing that I can't really just keep it for that because I'm never going to read it again. So we're getting rid of Grub. That's really strange. The next one that I'm getting rid of is Gub. I did not do that on purpose. This one is by Scott McKendry. This is another one that I have a duplicate copy of. Another one that is a duplicate copy, I have the hardback. It is The Cat Prince and Other Poems by Michael Pedersen. This is another poetry collection that I've heard incredible things about. I've never read anything from this author, so I'm really excited, but a duplicate. One that is not a duplicate and I actually read in a 24-hour readathon last year and really did not like it was A Swan's Neck on the Butcher's Block by Jenny Fagan. I was so excited about this because I loved Hex by Jenny Fagan. That still stands as one of my favourite novellas ever, like a 5-star read for me. So I was really excited to go into her poetry, but my god babe, was not for me. Another duplicate copy is Lobster by Holly McNish. I have this exact copy twice, so I don't need to. Then we have He, She, They, Us, which is an anthology of queer poetry. The only reason that I'm getting rid of this is because I've read the majority of the poems in here already, or I own collections from people also in here, so I don't feel the need to have a bounded collection. And this is such a gorgeous copy that I don't want it just sitting with dust on my bookshelf, so I'd much rather it go to a better home because I've read a lot of these. Then we have another proof, and that is The Kellerby Code by Johnny Sweet. I have had this on my TBR, okay, March 2024, so still a long time. Another case of I was incredibly excited about it, but I've heard nobody talk about it, so that is going. We have another Christmas book, and that is The Christmas Swap by Talia Samuels. This was a Christmas book that I was incredibly excited about, and then my best friend read it, I'm pretty sure, and she was not a huge fan, so I'm getting rid of it. Damn, my voice is getting sore, so I'm just gonna take a sip of my tea. Oh my god, this pucker, I'm pretty sure that's how you pronounce this tea brand. They're vanilla chai. Please try it if you like chais, like in a tea. It's so good. But anyway, next we have The Midnight Feast by Lucy Foley. This is one that I have read, or rather I DNF'd it. I don't think I'm ever going to try and read another Lucy Foley again. I fear that she's just not a thriller author for me, which is so sad because I know she's so popular. This one I just didn't like all that much and I really struggled to get through it. So because I DNF'd it, I really don't need it on my shelf. Then we have another one that's been on my TBR for years, and I'm still very hesitant about getting rid of this because I would love to read it one day, but I don't know when that's going to be. That is The Five, The Untold Lives of the Women Killed by Jack the Ripper by Hayley Rubenhold. Actually, babe, reading it, I'm gonna keep it. I've decided I'm keeping this, even though it has been on my bookshelf probably the longest out of all of these. It is a non-fiction book that at some point I want to read, and I've had the most astounding things about it, but I was just so hesitant because I haven't picked it up and it's been like 5 years. But you know what, we're still gonna hold out hope. This one can go back on the shelf. Another proof is The Beholders by Hester Musson, another one that I've never heard anyone talk about, and this was in January 2024 and I still haven't gotten to it. Next, I'm pretty sure these are both YA novels, and I very rarely read YA unless it's YA fantasy now, or it's from like Holly Jackson or Maureen Johnson and those sort of YA thrillers. Definitely incredibly picky with the young adult books that I do pick up now, and I'm pretty sure that these are both young adult. So we have Key Lime Sky by Al Hess and Your Time Is Up by Sarah Norton. These next two I was also very hesitant about getting rid of, solely because they've been on my shelves for so long. That's the main reason I'm getting rid of them. I still haven't picked them up. I very rarely get the urge to. I do feel like that if I ever got to them, they would be ones that I quite enjoy. So we have The Tatami Galaxy by Tomiko Mori. This cover is absolutely astonishing and it just sounds really good, but like I said, I've had it on my shelves for years and I never get the urge to pick it up, so I'm being ruthless. And in the same breath we have Spirits Abroad by Zen Cho. I'm pretty sure that this one is a short story collection, and I feel like even more so than all of the novels that I have, I'm more particular about what short stories I like picking up, just because every single time I pick up a short story collection, I'm well aware, even if it's like one of my favourite authors, I'm gonna love some stories and I'm gonna really dislike other ones. So I feel like it's always quite a gamble starting a new author with a short story collection. I'm definitely intrigued to read anything else by this author. I don't know if they have anything else. Yeah, this is another one that because I haven't read it for a really long time, I'm just gonna get rid of it. But again, if anyone has read this and it's good, I could be swayed. Then we have Permanent Record by Mary M.K. Choi. This is probably, like The Five, one of the oldest books on my TBR. The only book that I've still ever read from this author is Yolk, and I really adored that, but these are also YA novels. I could still be intrigued, but I just feel like, again, this was one of those classic booktube books like in 2014 that everyone was reading, and I had so much anticipation for it, but now that's just completely died down. Let's do some from here. So we have The Seventh Veil of Salem by Sylvia Moreno Garcia. I have been really intrigued to read another Sylvia Moreno Garcia. I read Mexican Gothic, I want to say 2-3 years ago, and I didn't enjoy it as much as I had hoped that I would. I have heard good things about this because I've heard that it's like golden age Hollywood, forward, and like the Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, that vibe I could definitely get on board with. Because I haven't read another Sylvia Moreno Garcia in a long time, and when I did, I wasn't a huge fan. I'm tempted to get rid of this. Again, it is one that I could definitely be swayed on, but for now, I don't know when. I don't see myself picking this up anytime soon, so I'm gonna add it to the stack. Then we have the BBC National Short Story Awards in 2024. It was such an honour. I actually got to go to the Short Story Awards last year. I'm getting rid of this because I've already read all of them and I don't need it on my shelf anymore, but I love these little collections. Fear the Flames by Olivia Rose Darling. The only reason that I'm getting rid of this is because, again, it's a duplicate. I'm pretty sure I actually have 3 copies, like 3 proof copies of this book, so I don't need all of them. The Cloisters by Katie Hayes. This is one that, again, I've been very intrigued about because I've heard it's dark academia. I'm always trying to hunt down more dark academia novels. One of my ex-colleagues absolutely adored this and really tried to convince me to read it. Again, it's one of those that I've had on my shelf for years and I've still never ever gotten to. Oh my god, there's actually so much dust on it. For now, this is definitely one that is going to stay in the stack, but again, one that I could be swayed on. One that I'm getting rid of because, again, it is a duplicate. I want to read this book so bad. I fear this is actually a 5-star prediction for me, but I have 2 hardback copies, and again, obviously I don't need 2. It's Mongrel by Hanneke Footman. I am so excited about this. I know it's like a story of just women and timelines, and I'm just expecting it to be so heartbreaking and so beautiful. Yeah, definitely a 5-star prediction for this one, but like I said, I don't need to. One that has been on my shelf for a really long time that I still haven't gotten to is Shot with Crimson by Nicola Upson. This was pitched in comparison to Rebecca by Daphne du Maurier, which I absolutely love that book so much, but I'm very hesitant about like modern thriller books that are in comparison to classic novels. I just don't know why. I'm always so hesitant about it, and this is one of them. It's another one that I've had on my shelf for so long and have never even considered picking it up, so she's going. Next is another one that, again, I'm quite hesitant about getting rid of, solely because it's so short, and it does say Blazing with Female Rage, a dark and shifty treat. Disturbance by Jenna Clegg. I'm tempted again to keep this one on my TBR just because, like I said, it is so short and I know it's like a thriller, and I just have heard no one talk about it. This one on my shelf again for years. Just honestly assume there is a similar pattern here. Just assume that I've ever read them and didn't like them / won't reread them, or they've been on my shelf for about 2 years plus. This is definitely one of them, but yeah, another one that I could be swayed on. Honestly, I could be swayed on any of these, so definitely let me know if you liked any of them. One that I have read though and didn't like that much is A House with Good Bones by T. Kingfisher. This was my first ever T. Kingfisher. I had really high expectations for it because I love haunted house narratives. I love anything that has a sentient house. This is one that I sort of assumed would have that, and it did slightly, but not in the way that I liked, and I just found myself being a bit too bored with this, which is shocking because it's quite short, so I'm getting rid of that. Another few actually that I'm getting rid of because I've had on my TBR for a really long time. First and foremost, Eyes, Guts, Throat, Bones by Moira Fowley. This is another one that I absolutely adore the cover of, but again, I've had no one talk about this, and there are just so many other horror books that I want to pick up before it. I feel like this is one that if I ever did want to pick it up, I would just get the paperback or something. I feel like I've seen it a couple of times in charity shops here. Carla by Colin Walsh. This is another one that when I was a bookseller, everyone loved, babe. Everyone would recommend to me, but I just never got around to it, and I still don't know if I ever will. One that I am slightly hesitant to because I do know that this is a dystopian, and again, I'm always looking for dystopians to read. The Ferryman by Justin Cronin, but because it is so, look at the size of that, I don't know when I'm ever gonna get to that, babe. I have heard good things about it, but I don't know. Again, I've had it on my shelf for so long, and I've never even thought about picking it up because it actually does intimidate me, so for now, she's going. We have The Heaven and Earth Grocery Store by James McBride. I got this when I was a bookseller, and I had really good reviews. I feel like so many people on booktube were talking about it. It was absolutely everywhere, and since then I haven't heard the best things. I've actually seen quite mixed things. Again, it's another one that when I look at it on my shelves, I don't really feel any excitement or pull to read it, so that's going. I feel the exact same way with these 3, which is Pod by Leyline Poole, Wild Geese by Sula Emanuel, and Greta and Valdin by Rebecca K. Riley. However, with this one I have heard quite good things about, and again, could be swayed. I actually know that one of my patrons really love this, and I would feel quite bad getting rid of it, but I don't know. I also really love the cover, so if this one's good, I could be swayed. Then we have Glorious Exploits by Ferdia Lennon. I remember I got this again when I was a bookseller because it won the Waterstones like debut fiction prize. However, on reflection, I have no interest in reading this, and I haven't seen the best things about it. I don't think I'm a massive Greek mythology girl, and for somebody who hasn't read a lot of Greek mythology, this one feels like it would be quite complex as an entry, so I don't think I'm ever gonna get to this. Wild Houses by Colin Barrett. However, another one that I could be swayed on. I've heard very mixed things about this. I've heard great things about this author, but I've never read anything from them. Sally Rooney on the front did blurb it as strange and beautiful, and I love any sort of fiction that is slightly weirder or slightly strange, so this is one again that I might be swayed on. Honestly, Oh my god, I kind of knew going into this unhaul that once I sat down and actually spoke about all of these, I would probably find some that I wouldn't want to get rid of, so we'll see. And then the last few in the stack, we have To Battersea Park by Philip Henshaw. Absolutely adore this cover. I love this so much, but again, another one that I've never really had anyone talk about, so I don't really have any interest. We have a proof called Experienced by Kate Young. This has been out for a while and I still haven't read it. Flowers from the Void by Gianni Washington. I know that this is like a horror short story collection, but again, there are so many horror short story collections and horrors in general that I really want to get to and that I already have on my TBR, and I never reach for this one. So this one is going. And then the same with this proof, which is How to Leave the House by Nathan Newman. Okay, we're now on to these last two stacks. I actually feel like I'm getting through these fairly quickly, which I was not expecting. A book that I have read, it is a romance, but I'm just getting rid of it because it's another one that I don't see myself rereading anytime soon. Set on You by Amy Lee. I really like this author's romances. I've read all of them in like this influencer series, and they're always so fun and so quick and so bingeable. This one, I believe she's like a fitness influencer. They are just always so fun, and I really love the commentary in these. I just always have the best time with them, but I don't think I'm gonna reread this. One that I haven't read yet, but I just again never ever reach for, is Red Dust White Snow by Pan Huting. I actually don't really know anything about this one, but it does give me sci-fi vibes, and I'm not a huge sci-fi reader, so this one is going. One that I have read is Delicate Dream Department Store. I am getting rid of this, babe, because like I said, cozy translated fiction, not really for me. And this one was okay. I liked certain elements of it, but it's like a 3-star read for me. It wasn't anything really groundbreaking. I'm not going to read anything from this author / carry on with this series because I know it's no longer a standalone. I'm also getting rid of The Premonition by Banana Yoshimoto. I'm actually getting rid of another Banana Yoshimoto, which is Kitchen. I have read both of these. I quite like these. I think that she borderlines strange literary fiction with quite surrealist elements, and I do really like them, but they're not really groundbreaking for me. I again don't really see myself rereading them, so I'm getting rid of these. A romance I'm getting rid of is The Long Game by Elena Armas. This is actually a proof that again came out in September 2023. I've never read anything by this author, and I don't think she's going to be the romance author for me after seeing a couple of reviews for this book and some of her other ones. Again, I feel like somebody would enjoy this a lot more than me, so I'm getting rid of that. Oh, we actually have more Christmas novels. Who would have thought? We have In the Holidays by Christina Lauren. I know that this is an incredibly popular Christmas romance, and I actually really like this. This was a fun groundhog Christmas romance that I would probably recommend to read in the festive period, but again, it's not one that I'm going to reread. And then I haven't read these two, but I'm not really interested in them anymore. Confessions of a Christmas Holic by Joss Wood and Wreck the Halls by Tessa Bailey. The main reason that I no longer am ever interested in reading this is I am no longer interested in reading any Tessa Bailey. I read Window Shopping by Tessa Bailey, which is another Christmas book from her, but that is like the worst book that I've ever read in my entire life. If you were there in Vlogmas 2023 where I did like a 24-hour readathon and I read this book, and oh my god, I actually don't think I've ever read anything worse in my entire life, so I'm gonna save myself and not read this. We have a proof that is Little Rot by Akwekia Mezi. Again, another one that I've had on my shelf for a while. It's been published for a while and I just never reached for it, and I haven't heard the best things, so I'm getting rid of that. One that I was slightly hesitant about is Brutes by Diz Tate. I've heard that this is kind of strange, sort of dark academia. I've heard people compare it to The Secret History, and I don't know, like I feel like it's possible that I would like this, but I've had a lot of friends and a lot of people close to me who have read this not like it at all, and because of that I'm kind of put off of it. But again, it is one that I could be swayed on. Another cozy translated fiction that we've already touched upon, Days at the Murasaki Bookshop. Not for me. In a similar vein, we have Before the Coffee Gets Cold. I only ever read this book in the series, and again, I don't think I'm ever going to reread it nor carry on with the series, so they're going. We have two more poetry collections, A Method, A Path by Rowan Evans, and Profit and Loss by Leontia Flynn. We then have What a Way to Go by Bella Mackie. I'm getting rid of this solely because I think I want to listen to the audiobook, and because it's quite a big hardback, it's taking up space on my like thriller. Because it is such a gorgeous hardback, I feel like somebody would much appreciate reading the physical copy than me, because I am interested in listening to the audiobook. I have a proof of Now She Is Witch by Kirsty Logan. This one is another one that I could definitely be swayed on because I've been intrigued about this author for a while. Don't get me wrong, this proof is utterly gorgeous. Like the foiling on it, I just love it so much, but I've never heard really anyone talk about it. I don't really know what it's about, but obviously I'm now getting more into fantasy, so this is definitely an option to keep on my TBR. If you've read it, please let me know if it's good. And then we have a few Fairy Loot editions that I'm thinking of getting rid of. I'm not entirely sure. I want to do a little bit more research on these, but these are some that arrived in like my subscriptions. I don't currently have too much interest in, and again, I feel like people would much appreciate having these editions than me. So first and foremost, it's The City of Stardust by Georgia Summers, Never So Black by Lara Celine, Feybound by Sarah El Arafi. I'm not gonna lie, one of my best friends is actually finishing this book currently, and she's really loving it, so I'm more intrigued to keep it now. Just heard really mixed things about it, and I'm also really getting into fae romance and fae fantasy, and This one I might keep. Son of Blood and Ruin. This one is also another really gorgeous one. All of these are so gorgeous. I just don't think I'm going to get to them anytime soon. I was going to say onto the last stack, but I actually have a handful of books also here that I'm thinking of getting rid of, so we'll go through them quickly. We have Lucy Ann Dying by Kirsten White. This is a proof copy. I tried reading this and I DNF'd it. I was not really gelling with the writing, unfortunately. I was really excited about this because any sort of like Carmilla retelling or vampire gothic novel I always love, but this one just wasn't for me. Assistant to the Villain. This is another one that I could definitely be swayed on. I've just heard really mixed things, but now that I am getting more into fantasy, maybe I'll keep this one too. Black Butterflies by Priscilla Morris is one that I've had on my TBR again for years and I still never got to it, so I'm gonna get rid of that. How Much is a tiny dystopian novella that I have already read. It was kind of immemorable to me, I'm not gonna lie, and it's another one that I'm not really gonna reread again. So Late in the Day by Claire Keegan. This is a tiny, like, this was a proof copy, I think. It's a tiny paperback and it was okay. I'm not a huge fan of Claire Keegan. And then finally in that stack we have If I Survive You by Jonathan S. Goffrey. Onto the last stack then we have I Want to Die but I Want to Eat Tteokbokki, and one that I'm getting rid of because it's a duplicate. We have a non-fiction book which is Why Did You Stay by Rebecca Humphreys. It says a memoir about toxic love then crossed out self-worth. I was initially really intrigued by this. I liked the cover, but I've never heard anyone talk about it, and again, because it's non-fiction and I don't read a lot of non-fiction, I do have a handful of non-fiction books that I really want to get to, so anything that doesn't fall into that currently I'm getting rid of. I've already spoken about this book, but it's Yok by Mary H.K. Choi, and then we have Emergency Contact. Again, I'm really hesitant about getting rid of these, but I'm being really picky with the young adult that I read. But like, these were staple booktube like 2014 2015 books, so for that I'll always really appreciate them, but I've had them on my shelf for years. Then we have One Day by David Nichols. I'm getting rid of this because I've already watched the show and I don't really intend to read the book because the show devastated me. I already showed you one Amy Lee book with Set On You, but then we have her two others in the Influencer series, The Catch and X's and O's. All of these I'm fairly certain were like solid 4-star romances for me. I really enjoyed my time with them, but again, I'm not really planning on rereading. A romance I actually DNF'd was This Summer Will Be Different by Carly Fortune. I was actually really surprised that I DNF'd this. I know so many people love Carly Fortune and the series, so I was expecting to love it too, but unfortunately I didn't. And then finally, two proofs that I'm getting rid of. We have Swimming to Lundy by Amanda Prose, and then I'll Look for You Everywhere by Cameron Capello. So those are all of the books that I am getting rid of today. I don't know exactly how many that is, but when I initially counted it was sitting at around 100, and I think this is all of them. Like I said, if you have read any of these and you're adamant that I would also really enjoy them / you would like to see me read them, definitely let me know what ones, and I could be swayed in keeping some. I'm just being so ruthless when it comes to my TBR in 2025 because I really do want to get it down and I want to make sure that I'm reading as much as I can on there, and for that I need to be excited for all of them. So that is where this book unhaul sort of sprouted from, but I'm feeling really refreshed that I finally did it. As always, if you've watched until the very end of the video and you don't really know what to comment but you would like to show you stayed until the end, comment any book emoji. As always, I have all of my socials linked down in my description box below. You can find my Patreon where we have a monthly book club and a bi-monthly classics book club. We also have a besties group chat on Discord. We have monthly giveaways, we do live streams, live reading sprints. There is always a lot of fun happening over there. But I do also have my Goodreads where you can find reviews for every single book that I read, alongside my Instagram and my TikTok. But yeah guys, thank you so much for being here and for spending some time with me. I really hope you enjoyed, and I will see you again very soon with another video.